In January, I achieved the career goal I had been working towards for almost a decade. I was promoted to managing consultant at 29, just weeks before turning 30. I had the salary, the stability, the title, everything that I'd wanted since I joined. And within months, I handed in my notice. Not because I had to, but because I'd finally realized that just because you're succeeding at something, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend the rest of your life doing it. So today I want to share with you why I left a well-paid, stable corporate career after 8 years of climbing up the ranks to build the NWK Academy and pursue nutrition coaching full time, and what it really took to get there as well. So growing up, I have followed everything by the book. I was a teacher's pet, I was a top student, A's and A stars, GCSE, A levels, all in sciences and maths. I was really good at following the path that was there set out in front of me, right? I worked hard, I got good grades, went to a good university, I secured that respectable kind of corporate career and like coveted grad scheme that I thought I was supposed to take. And, I kept moving through the ranks. I was doing the things that I thought I was meant to be doing, right? The problem was I had focused so long at being good at school that I had never really stopped to ask myself, what do I actually want my life to look like? Like, what do I want to do beyond school? I was so focused on being good at school. Now, I ended up doing economics at university, which I really, really hated. I don't regret it, but wouldn't recommend. I chose a broad degree because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So medicine and dentistry felt like some of the obvious choices. For me, I was quite strong in the maths and science area, but I think I was too squeamish or just wasn't exposed to it enough. And I was also really, and still am, very indecisive. So I chose economics because it felt broad. It felt like it would keep my options open. It wouldn't close any doors off. And in reality, that was probably just code for I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to make a decision at that point. So for me, university was a huge adjustment. I had never studied economics before, not even at A levels. And I went from being, one of the strongest students in the class to feeling like a very small fish in a big pond. No matter how much I tried, I could not get my head around the concepts that we were supposed to be learning and being able to critically analyze, and I couldn't really ever fully wrap my head around it. And I honestly couldn't tell you much of what I learned in my 3 years there, even now. But obviously I still thought, let me take the next logical step, and management consulting felt perfect for someone who was super indecisive for me. So a grad scheme felt like the obvious next route. Everyone was doing it. It felt like the next step into the corporate world with getting the right level of support and things like that. I applied everywhere, and I was fortunate enough to receive some really brilliant offers. And again, you know, discipline, work ethic, spreadsheets, I was really on it. Management consulting seemed like the right fit for me because I could work across different sectors, clients, specialisms without having to choose one path immediately. And at the time, I was really genuinely excited to have that variety. I wanted to work in London. I wanted to dress the part. I wanted the exciting corporate career. I got to travel really regularly. I was traveling to Paris often. I worked with global brands, board directors, global industry leaders, senior leaders. I helped businesses navigate really complex challenges in the consumer products, digital marketing, and transformation spaces, which was pretty cool. Like, some of the brands that I've worked with are pretty cool. And my biggest career goal was, when I joined, if I can become managing consultant by the time I'm 30, that's goals. Like, I would have made it. And I did. I was promoted in January. I turned 30 in February. And on paper, everything had gone exactly to plan. But the goal didn't feel the way I thought it would, right? A few years earlier, a thought had already started brewing in the background. I wanted something of my own. And I knew if I had found something that I truly cared about, I would pour everything into it to make it successful. I just didn't know what that thing was. And Ash has always been really creative and entrepreneurial, and being with him has encouraged me to think beyond the traditional path that I'd always known. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a corporate career. There is a reason why the majority of people are in that space. It can provide amazing experiences, stability, development, opportunities. I've learned from some of the most intelligent people and collaborated with them. And it's given me security to live the life that I wanted to outside of work as well, and supported me through some difficult times over the last few years. But you know, I had grown up surrounded by that route. So I had never seriously considered that my life could look different. Now, management consulting is a really demanding career. It is fast paced, high pressure, demanding clients. Work can be tough, right? Hours can be long. You're constantly working towards the next deadline, project, or promotion, as you are in a lot of corporate careers. And somewhere along the way, I did start to experience burnout, low energy, difficulty keeping up with busy life, and a feeling that I was simply going through the motions, waiting for when I could get back into bed at night, waiting for the weekend. And at the same time, through it all, my buddy mum, my grandma, became really unwell with cancer. And with all of that kind of happening, it was also affecting me physically, like the burnout, the low energy was starting to affect me physically as well as going through, you know, seeing my buddy mum go through what she was going through. And I desperately wanted to understand how food and nutrition could support her. But I really felt so frustrated by how little I actually knew. And that experience exposed a huge gap in my knowledge. And it made me want to understand nutrition more deeply, right? There's a lot of information out there, but actually understanding the facts is a totally different ball game. Not through not through random social media advice, but really through real education. Like within that same year, I also got married. During that period of time, life became even busier. I had always been naturally very slim, right? And I was always really proud of the abs that I thought I had, and that was just my natural physique. In fact, I was probably much more on the slim side. Within like 6 months of getting married, I put on like 10 to 15 kilos in a really short amount of time. And I definitely needed to gain some of that weight, but not all of it and not that quickly. And, you know, I was still exercising. I was doing all the same things that I thought I was doing before. But I'd been stuck on the same 6 kilogram dumbbell for years. I wasn't really building much in terms of strength. I didn't understand how to fuel my body. And I thought eating healthy meant like cutting carbs. I was so proud of myself that like when I make pasta, it's mostly vegetables and not that much pasta in it. Or, you know, I'm eating less bread and things like that. But I was just missing so many pieces of the puzzle. And I realized that although I cared about health, and I had trained for years and I thought I was looking after myself and I thought I was doing all the right things, I really didn't understand nutrition. Now, in December 2023, Ash and I spent Christmas in Thailand. And being away from our normal routine, it really gave us some space to kind of think and talk about, you know, what do we really want to do, and think, you know, have bigger conversations. And we asked each other one of our favorite questions that comes up time and time again. If money wasn't a factor and you could do anything, what would you do? And, you know, I always had said things like dancer and like a wedding planner and things like that in the past. That's a story for another time. But for the first time, something real that I thought I could really do, not like a pretend career, came to me. And I said nutrition. And at the time, you know, I did think it was just another passing holiday conversation, but it stayed with me. And on January 4th, I returned to work. I remember watching the clock. It's like my first day back after the holidays. I remember watching the clock. It was around 2 o'clock and I was like, God. And I had this really overwhelming feeling and thought that I cannot spend the next 30 or 40 years waiting for my work day to pass. I wanted to do something that felt meaningful. I didn't want to feel like I was wishing my time away. I wanted to build something of my own. And I wanted my work to make a difference to people's lives. I wanted to make an impact. And so that same day I started researching, you know, how could I go about doing this? How could I qualify? What could I do? You know, returning to university full time was just not something that it wasn't realistic for me for the stage of life that I was at that point. So I explored other routes. I came across Future Fit. I spoke to an advisor, basically told him my entire life story, and signed up straight away. And at the time, it was genuinely coming from a place of, you know, I said to Ash, even if I can just learn how to fuel me and my family and us better, that's enough for me, because I felt like there was such a big gap there. And it was coming from a place of like genuine curiosity around, I need to know more and I need to learn how to do this for myself. And, you know, I didn't quit my job overnight. And it's a part that most often people don't see. I didn't wake up one morning, quit my job, and hope everything would just work out. For the last 3.5 years, I studied alongside a demanding full-time career. I completed my level 3 and level 4 nutrition qualifications. I continued to develop my knowledge and study further, was balancing work, newly married life, family commitments, my own health and well-being over the years. I started working with clients on a really small scale initially. I started to build my NWK page on social media, started to post consistently, started to test my coaching approach, and slowly built a community around that work. And yes, there were a lot of evenings, weekends, and periods where it felt like I was doing two full-time jobs, or two more than full-time jobs, because a lot of you guys will know in corporate it's more than a full-time job. But every time I worked on NWK, I felt energized in a way that I hadn't for a long time. Waking up really early to get things done, giving up things on the weekend, working late nights. I felt really, really energized, and it was something that I felt like I really wanted to do. So one of the biggest turning points for me was investing in a business mentor. And yes, it was scary. I have now invested thousands of pounds into my education, development, and my business. But that support helped me to think bigger, right? If you want change, something has to change. And it allowed me to think bigger, to stop treating NWK like a little side project, to build confidence in what I was creating and how I was showing up, to develop the systems and offering behind like how I structured the academy, and see that leaving the corporate world could become a realistic plan rather than just a distant dream, or, I'd be happy if I was just earning like, 1K a month or something. And people are really often frightened to spend money in investing themselves. I know that I was. And even when you invest in something new, still there is hesitancy, and I totally get that. But I also believe that the right support can really like accelerate and compress like years of trial and error, and help you move forward with far more clarity. And that investment has genuinely changed the direction of my life. Now, a few years ago, leaving corporate to run NWK full time would have been the ultimate dream. If, I have had years wrestling with when was the right time to do this? Can I do this? Should I do this? Am I being silly? Am I like, will it work? I have spent years crying, wrestling, trying to figure out what should I do, with every fiber of my being telling me that this is what I want. But having to navigate the realities of real life. You can't just get up and leave. You've got responsibilities and things that you need to like turn up for, show up for, have stability. Ash in that time has also had a career change, and we've had house moves, renovations, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, health, well-being, personal things, which make you think, is this the right thing for me, right? But like I said, a few years ago, I was genuinely falling asleep crying, wrestling with how can I make this work, because I need to make this change. I need more. And crying because I was so burnt out, trying to juggle everything, trying to do everything. Not only was I already burnt out from my job, but burnt out from the added responsibility and added things that I'd added to my plate. And I was exhausted. And it would have been my ultimate dream, or it was my dream. It is my dream. And today it's become a reality. And my dreams are even bigger now. And, I left because I didn't want to divide my best energy between the career that I had built and the mission I feel increasingly called towards. And I wanted to give NWK the time, focus, and commitment I knew it deserved. And in all honesty, it had started to take a physical toll on me as well, with my own health and well-being, trying to do so many things all at once. And I wanted to wake up knowing that my work was helping people, rebuilding their confidence, understanding nutrition properly, stop jumping between restrictive diets, get stronger, improving their relationship with food, finally feeling like the best versions of themselves inside and out, but most importantly, enjoying the process and learning that it doesn't have to be some miserable, kind of sad, soggy salad, overly restrictive approach. You can enjoy it, and it can be a sustainable lifestyle. And that work is so fulfilling to me. Like, the interactions that I have with my clients and community are like nothing compares. And I am incredibly grateful for the community that has already grown around the NWK Academy, but it is only the beginning. My mission is to build the UK's #1 health and wellbeing program for vegetarians, a place where vegetarians can lose body fat sustainably, build strength and muscle, eat enough protein without overcomplicating it, enjoy cultural, social foods and having a bit of a social life, improve their energy and confidence, and build habits that actually last. And leaving my career wasn't about running away from something bad, but it was about finally giving myself permission to pursue something that felt more aligned with who I had become over the years through my own personal experiences. And for most of my life, I have followed the path that made the most sense on paper, right? And a lot of people will be like, why? Why would you leave something that is so stable? But hopefully it makes sense now. And this is the first time I've chosen the path that feels right to me. And it's taken years of studying, building, investing, doubting myself, and pushing forwards anyway along the way. And we're just getting started, right? So follow along if you want to see what happens as I build the NWK Academy full time. And if you are a vegetarian who wants to lose fat, build strength, and finally feel confident in your body, you can book in a free nutrition game plan with me at the link below.